And as offensive as Trump's rhetoric was yesterday in his posts, it got more dangerous overnight.
Hey folks, Dale Jackson here. Today we're going to be talking about Donald Trump and his latest response, or maybe it's a prebuttal to a potential indictment by a DA in New York City, Alvin Bragg. He declared himself to be innocent, and boy, oh boy, are our friends in the media upset about that, and they're doing the thing they always do, where they freak out about whether or not he's inciting violence with his words.
Joe and Mika, just in the last couple hours at a post on Truth Social, just was well after midnight, Trump says this, his usual routine about how he's innocent, but then he says this about DA Bragg. He says about the consequences of a potential charge. He says, does he know that, quote, potential death and destruction in such a false charge could be catastrophic for our country? That is Donald Trump, the former president of the United States, who we already know incited violence once on January 6th, suggesting that there could be death and destruction, in his words, if he were to be charged now.
So first he's threatening the DA with an image, with a baseball bat image. I mean, again, Jonathan, let's just back up. Let's show that image again.
Yep.
If I can tell you, at least when I was a lawyer in Northwest Florida, if you did that, held that baseball bat up and put it on social media, if there were social media back then, and there was a split screen with a prosecutor, I mean, you could expect a knock on your door. I mean, that is threatening violence against a prosecutor and trying to get other people to commit acts of violence against a prosecutor.
Everyone should know this. I'm not a super Donald Trump fan. I voted for him multiple times, but he does stuff that annoys me regularly. But you know what I do? I point out the things that annoy me that he does, and I respond to those. I don't imply he's doing some sort of crazy thing like inciting people to violence and trying to get him out there. And if you look at what he actually said, and maybe there's a reason why they don't show it in much of this clip, but look at what he actually said. What kind of person can charge another person, in this case, a former president of the United States who got more votes than any sitting president in history and leading candidate by far for the Republican Party nomination, with a crime when it is known by all that no crime has been committed, and it's also known that potential death and destruction in such a false charge could be catastrophic for our country? Why and who would do such a thing? Only a degenerate psychopath that truly hates the USA. Now, you can complain about his rhetoric all you want, but he asserts his innocence and says if this happens, there could be death and destruction. That's not an incitement of violence. The folks in the media have been talking about how there could be violence when this happens all along. Now he says it, and they pretend that he wants it to happen and he's egging it on. They are frauds, especially these guys, Joe and Mika on Morning Joe on MSNBC. They constantly are saying things that they know are not true in order to placate their audience, the dwindling audience. And Joe Scarborough's apparently been doing this his entire life, lying about who he is and what he believes and all this other stuff. It is just pathetically sad. You can point out that what Donald Trump is saying here is idiotic. It is unhelpful. And that in reality, it makes almost no sense. But you can't call it an incitement of violence because that's not what it is. But they have a script. Anytime someone says something they disagree with, they have to find something worse than what they actually said. Maybe it's racist. Maybe it's sexist. Maybe it's anti-Semitic because this DA has had the support of George Soros, and George Soros is Jewish, so therefore saying that is anti-Semitic. Or maybe it's an incitement of violence. Nobody believes that this is an incitement of violence. You can think this is idiotic. I might agree with you. In fact, I kind of do. I don't like this style that Donald Trump has, but he's had it for so long, it's not going to change. You don't get to make up and infer what it is because you're mad at the guy. And that's exactly what they're doing here on Morning Joe. It doesn't work for me. I don't think it works for anyone else. This whole, oh, he's going to be violent, he's going to be violent, all this stuff, it never comes to fruition. They can point to January 6th all you want. He said there, go up and peacefully protest, and they said that was an incitement of violence. I would say hopefully they'll learn a new play, but I don't think that's very likely either. This is all they've got. This is all they've ever had. and it's had some success. Let's just be real about it. It's death by 1,000 cuts with Donald Trump. This is how they believe they've defeated him in 2020, just by constantly hammering. And that's what it is right here.